Hello, we are still continuing with quadratic equation. Here we are going to learn how we use the graph, okay, to solve quadratic equation method. That is the graphical method, okay. And what we should know is that when you have a quadratic, okay, you know the standard form of quadratic, a squared plus bs plus c equal to 0. When you have a quadratic and then you are drawing quadratic equation on the graph, okay, that is where we have the Cartesian plane, the y-axis and the s-axis. Okay, what is going to happen is that when you have the quadratic equation on the graph or in the Cartesian plane, then if the coefficient of the s square here, if it is positive, then what is going to happen? That you are going to have a minimum curve. This is how your curve is going to be. So here we are going to have a curve, okay. When you draw quadratic, it will be a curve like this, and we are going to have a minimum curve. Minimum means that the curve will be in this particular shape, okay, like the U shape, okay, where we may have a minimum value of y and its corresponding s value. Okay, so here this is where the coefficient of s squared is positive. Example like 2s squared minus 6s plus 3, and then it can be s squared plus 5s minus 6. Any where the coefficient of the s squared is actually positive, that is what we are talking about. Okay, so this is what we have. And if you want to also look at if the coefficient of the s squared is negative, okay, that one we will have like the end shape like this, okay. If your curve turn like you have where we will have the maximum value of the y, okay. If your curve tends to be like that, then here the coefficient of the s squared is negative. It's negative. Where we may have, let's say, 6 minus 3x minus 4s squared equal to 0. You see that the coefficient of the s squared is negative. You can even write it like minus x squared plus 6s minus, let's say, 7. You see, coefficient of the s squared is negative. So anytime the coefficient of the s squared is negative, then we are going to get what? A maximum curve. A maximum curve where we have a maximum value of what? Of the y. And how do we get the roots or the values of the quadratic? That is what we are looking at. We are solving the quadratic equation to get the values of the quadratic. Then what will happen is that you look at where the curve touches what? The s-axis, and the two values there will be the values of what? The values of the x, or the root of the equation. The two values of that will satisfy the equation. So look at where the curve what touches or intersects or crosses what? The s-axis, the two values there. So here the root, let's say here is negative a and here is b. Let's say negative a and here is positive b. Then my root is going to what? The root of the equation is going to be s is equal to minus a or what? Or b, according to the example that I've used there. Alright, so that will become the root of the equation. So let's go and use let's solve an example and let's see how our curve is going to be. But take note, we need on the x and y axis, we need the values of s and the values of what? And the values of y. So let me give an example and then we'll see how we are going to solve it. So we need a quadratic function and then we solve. Okay, so let's look at this particular question. Okay, here it says find the root of s squared plus s minus equal to 0 using the graphical method. Okay, and we are given using the graphical method for intervals of minus 5 less than or equal to x and less than or equal to 4. So with the graphical method, you have to be given actually the interval, alright, so that we can know the interval to use for our graph. So the interval of the s is from minus 5 to what? To 4. Okay, now let's go on and solve our question. But before we can draw the graph, what you should know that we have to know the corresponding y value, because we need a point or the coordinates. Okay, So what you say that let y to be equal to s squared plus s minus 6 for the quadratic function here. So y is equal to s squared plus s minus 6. Okay, and then we are using the interval of minus 5 less than or equal to s less than 4. Okay, so when you want to get the y values, you will say that we are starting the s from -5. So you say that when s is equal to -5, then you substitute x into the quadratic function. So y will be equal to what? -5 squared plus -5 minus 6, so that we can get the corresponding y value. All right. And then we get our points to do our graph. Okay, so we do substitution. We have -5 squared plus -5, we substitute -5 minus 6, and that will give us 14. So when s is -5, y is 14. Then we continue. When s is what? -4. So we do up to 4. So our y will be equal to what? -4 squared plus -4 minus 6. And let's see what we get for the value of y. So -4 squared plus -4 minus 6, and y will get us 6. And when s is equal to -3, what will be y? Y will be equal to -3 squared plus -3, okay, minus 6. And let's see what we are going to get for y. So -3, -3, okay. So we are going to get y as 0. So when s is negative, y is 0. Then you see that when s is equal to -2, then what will be my y? -2 squared plus -2 minus 6. And then that will be equal to -4. So let's try. And then when x is equal to what? X is equal to, where have you reached? -1. If x is -1, then our y will be equal to -1 squared plus -1 minus 6. And let's see what we get for y. -6. So when s is -1, I will give a -6. And when s is equal to 0, then our y will be equal to a 0 squared plus 0 minus 6. And that will be -6. But this is 0, this will be 0, -6. And when s is equal to 1, y will be equal to what? 1 squared plus 1 minus 6. And 1 squared is 1 plus 1, that is 2. 2 minus 6 will give a -4. And when s is equal to 2, we'll have what? Y to be equal to 2 squared plus 2 minus 6. So 2, 0. That will give us 0. X is equal to 3. Okay, when x is equal to 3, we will have y to be equal to what? 3 squared plus 3 minus 6. 3 squared plus 3 minus 6. And that will give us 6. We are not done. We are left with the last one. When x is equal to 4, y will be equal to what? 4 squared plus 4 minus 6. So 4 squared plus 4 minus 6. That will give us 14. So our y is going to give us 14. Okay. So we have been able to get the values of the s and the values of what? And the values of the y. All right. We have the x and the y. So let me draw a table so that we can put our x and y on it, and then we'll have a space to draw a graph. So our x value started from where? -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and what? And 4. So that is where our x value started from. All right. Then our y values When x is negative 5, y was 14. When x is negative 4, what did we get for y? 6. When x is negative 3, had y as 0. X is negative 2, y gave us negative 4. X is negative 1, y gave us negative 6. X is 0, y gave us what? Negative 6. X is 1, y gave us negative 4. X is 2, y gave us 0. X is 3, y gave us 6. And x is 4, y gave us 14. Okay, so this is what we have for the values of x and y so that we can plot it on the graph. So this is what we have in our table. Okay, as time goes on, I will also teach how to use the calculator for the table without going through all these steps. You can also use the calculator and then you get your table. So this is what we have. So we are going to pick, we were not given a scale, so we are going to pick our convenience scale, okay, so that we can draw the graph. So if we pick our convenience scale, what scale will be convenient for us? Let me see. On the x side, starting from negative 5 to positive 4. So on the x side, you can pick 2 centimeters to 1 unit, alright? And then on the y axis to 14, you can pick 2 centimeters to what? To 2 units, and that I believe will help us. So since the y has positive, the highest positive value is 14, and the least negative value is negative 6. So let me bring the curve down here like this so that it can go there. So we are going to use 2 centimeters to 2 units on the y axis. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. That is what we have on our y-axis here. Okay, then we have here negative 2, negative 4, okay, negative 6. That's alright. And then on the x-axis too, let me use 2 centimeters to 1 unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's say 5. And then negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Okay, so we have all our values in the y and the x axis. Okay, so what we are going to do is to plot the points and then we get a curve. So negative 5 is 14. So negative 5 on the x axis, 14 on the y axis. So that will be here. So as you can also use the graph so that we get the accuracy of the curve. All right. Okay. So this is just a freehand sketch. Okay, not drawn actually to scale. Negative 4 give me 6. So negative 4 and 6 will be here. Negative 3, 0. So that will be here. Negative 2, negative 4, negative 2, negative 4 will be here. We have negative 1, negative 6. So negative 1, negative 6 will come here. We have 0, negative 6. So that will be on the negative 6 here. We have 1, negative 4. 1, negative 4. So 1, negative 4 will also be here. We have 2, 0 will be here. We have 3, 6. 3, positive 6 will be here. And then 4, 14. 4, positive 14. So 4, positive 14 will also be here. After that, we join the point. So we are going to join. So see how we join the points. All right. So this is what we have. Okay, we have joined the points. We have joined the points. So we have, this is our curve so nicely. Y is equal to x squared plus x minus 6. And this is a quadratic function for the curve. Y is equal to x squared plus x minus 6. Okay, so this is our curve and this is what we have. So we are finding the root of x squared plus x minus equal to 0. And you say, how do you find the root? The root of the equation are the two values of s that satisfy the equation. And you say that to get the root, you look at the curve, where the curve touches the s axis. Let's see where the curve touches the s. The curve touches the s axis at where s is equal to -3, and then where s is equal to what? 2. So s is negative, s is 2. So the root of the equation, therefore we can conclude that the root of the equation x squared plus x minus 6 equal to 0 are -3 and +2. -3 and +2. It means that -3 and +2, when you substitute into the equation, okay, when you substitute into the equation, that is what will satisfy the quadratic equation. So when you solve this quadratic equation, this is what we are going to get. We are going to get -3 and then +2. Okay, so instead of using the factorization or the completing the score of the formula, you can also use the curve, the graph, drawing the curve, and then you get your answer. Okay, so it will satisfy the curve at where the values of that will satisfy the curve -3 and +2. That is where the curve touches what? Touches the s axis. Touches the s axis. I believe you get it. All right. We are going to solve one more example on this, and I know you understand. We are going to solve a question where the curve is maximum. All right. Okay, so let's also look at example where the coefficient of the s square is what? Is negative, and see we are finding the root of this using the graphical method for intervals -2, less than equal to s, less than equal to 5. Okay, so first of all, what do we say? We say that let y to be equal to what? 4 plus 3s minus s squared. Okay, so here the coefficient of the s square is negative. We are going to get a maximum curve. And what is the interval of the x? So it starts from -2 to 5. So you say that when s is -2, then what to be our y? Y is 4 plus 3 times -2 minus -2 squared. So you see how I've written it. 4 plus 3 times minus, then the s is -2, so -2 squared. So 4 plus 3 times -2 minus -2 squared, and that will give us -6. Okay, so let me see, when s is -1, so y will be equal to 4 plus 3 times -1 minus -1 squared. So we put -1 there, and we see what we get. We get y to be 0. All right, and when s is 0, then y will be equal to what? 4 plus 3 times 0 minus 0 squared. So 4 plus 3 by 0 minus 0 squared will give us 4. Okay, and when s is equal to 1, then what we call 4 plus 3 times 1 minus 1 squared. Okay, so 4 plus 3 times 1 minus 1 squared, 4 plus will give us 6. Okay, so when s is equal to 2, then y will be equal to 4 plus 3 times 2 minus 2 squared. Okay, so when s is 2, we get our y to be 6. Okay, when x is equal to 3. Then our y will be equal to what? That is 4 plus 3 times 3 minus 3 squared. 4 plus 3 times 3 minus 3 squared, and that will give us 4. And when s is equal to 4, y will be equal to 4 plus 3 times 4 minus 4 squared. And that will give us 0. And when s is equal to 5, then y will be equal to what? 4 plus 3 times 5 minus 5 squared. And that will give us negative 6. Okay, so we are done with the values, and now we can go straight and draw. So let me put it in the table form like this, so that when we are drawing our graph it will be easier. So my x and then my y. So the s start from -2 ending at what? Ending at 5. Okay, so when s is -2, what is y? -6. When s is -1, what is y? 0. When s is 0, then y will give me 4. When s is 1, y is giving me 6. When s is 2, y is giving me 6. When s is 3, y is giving me 4. When s is 4, y is giving me 0. And when s is 4, y is giving me -6. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, then what we are going to do is to draw our graph. So let's see. Most of the time in the question you'll be given a scale, but if you are not given, let's see, on the y-axis, let me see the values. Let's use 2 centimeter to 2 units on the y, and then 2 centimeter to 1 on the x. Okay, so you draw your Cartesian plane lines that are on the highest value of the y is 6 and the least value is -6. Okay, so 0 is here. So on the y, on the x, it starts from 1 to 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. -1, -2. Okay, so let's say -3. What of on the, so this is my x, on the y-axis, that is 2, let me use 2, 4, and 6. That is okay. And then -2, -4, -6. That is fine. Okay, so this is my y-axis. And let's see what we are going to get. So -2 on the s will give me -6. So -2, -6, so that will be here. Then -1, 0, that will be here. 0, 4 will be here. 1, 6, 1, 6, that will give me here. 2, 6, that will also give me here. 3, 4, 3, 4, I have to come here. And then 4, 0 will be here. And then 5, -6, that will also be here. Okay, so when you join the curve to go like this, wow. So you see what we have here. When the coefficient of the s square is negative, we are going to have our curve in this way, a maximum curve. All right, so now let's look at the root. Okay, so this our curve is y is equal to 4 plus 3x minus s squared. Okay, so now let's see the root of the equation, or the root of the quadratic equation. So the root is where the curve touches the s-axis. So the curve is touching the s-axis, where s is what? -1, and then s is what? Is 4. So you come and conclude that therefore the root of the equation 4 plus 3x minus s squared are -1 and 4. So when you solve 4 plus 3s minus s squared equal to 0, these are the values you are going to get. You are going to get s as -1 and then s as what? As 4. And these two values will satisfy the equation. Alright. So this is what we have. I believe and I know you have found it. So you can pick your graph and then you go through this one. But I'll get time. You go through quadratic function. Okay. Looking at all the possible questions that they can ask you on it. So this is about the graphical method, and I hope and I believe you have understood. Okay, so I'll see you for more. Bye bye.